So, Kaya Jones, ex-Pussycat Dolls star, has come out to explain that she is yet another victim of Hollyweird. She and the other girls she alluded to have experienced the abuse, the exploitation, the forced abortions, poor payment. We're going to be talking about all of that in this video. So y'all need to stay tuned, especially because we're going to be talking about the entertainment industry. You guys know that this is probably the biggest topic on this channel. And I have a lot to say about this. And specifically because the Pussycat Dolls were actually my favorite girl group. Like, to this day, they are my favorite girl group because they don't just have the vocals. No, they don't just have the vocals and the dance. They have the vocals and the dance and the flexibility. Tell me any girl group that does as flexible moves as the Pussycat Dolls. So they really inspired me as a young woman to want to be flexible, to want to stretch. Till now, they still do, because I think about like in Beep, where one of the girls just throws her leg all the way up there, like at a 180-degree angle. I'm just like, this is so freaking cool. But it's sad to hear these types of stories, and it's important for us to address it because, first of all, to give these guys the acknowledgement they deserve for what they've been through, and second of all, to act as a warning to budding artists, because a lot of people are just like so desperate to like be seen in the industry, to like get signed by big labels, blah blah blah. You guys know already, if you've been on my channel for a long time, I'm not in favor of that. So let's talk about what she talked about now, because the thing I'm specifically going to be referring to is an interview she did with Tucker Carlson, and she's basically explaining how she left the Pussycat Dolls a long time ago. Now it's interesting because she actually attributes God to the reason for her life, her being alive today, which I very much relate to that as well. But we're going to come back to that. So let's talk about what she talked about. The first thing that she actually talked about here, and if you guys see me looking down, I'm just looking at my notes, okay? I made notes listening to the video. Is she talked about how the way that they looked and the way they presented themselves was a complete lie. And this is something that's so normal in the entertainment industry. And this is what I always say to you guys, that we get caught up in this stuff where like we have artists, they create this picture for us of like who they are and what type of lifestyle they live, just like how people live Instagram reels. We support it, we want to be a part of it, but it's actually, none of it is real, you know. And she even said that she was not even allowed to genuinely say how she felt about anything. And she was especially thankful to Britney Spears that she was finally somebody who spoke up with a big platform. And so I just want to quickly mention, obviously you guys know the Britney playlist, the Britney Spears saga is one of the biggest things on this channel. One of the longest, strongest playlists. In fact, after I rebranded myself on YouTube, the first is into Queendom TV, which we're now the winning team. After I did that, the first video I made was about Britney Spears, and that video actually got quite a lot of views. And so that's like been like probably the longest running series on this channel. And I really think that just the fact that Kai is speaking up about this, because again, guys, like one of the things I want to point out to everybody who's watching, love you guys, and I'm so appreciative that you're here, and I pray that you would listen to the rest of this video, because there's so much to get into with this situation that will give you guys wisdom and knowledge, etc. Right? So one of the things I wanted to point out with all of this is the fact that like this is normal in the industry. Like, I'm not saying it happens to everybody, because even Kaya said that it doesn't happen to everybody, but she also went to the extent to say that there's a very small group of people who control the industry. And the reason why I make these statements and I say this stuff to you guys is because I know that like one of the things that the entertainment industry does super well is like putting the entertainment industry like as something that we all aspire to be a part of, or all aspire to like have, as far as like, oh, the fame, the money, the this and that. But even she was saying in this that they weren't paid very well as Pussycat Dolls. So even though we would look at them as like super duper rich, she actually said they were poorly paid because they were owned by an institution and they were cast like a show. So they were actually cast just like a show, right? So they were just characters that were picked to suit something. Not that we, as the way we look at it, there's some groups out there who like chose to put themselves together and wanted to be a group and had like certain things that made them like a great group. But this wasn't what was happening with the Pussycat Dolls, and it also isn't what's happening with a lot of other girl groups, and even guy groups. I've said this to you guys. You guys can check out in the contract playlist, right? Where I was telling you guys, I read through certain interesting things about the X Factor and America's Got Talent and all those types of contracts, and how those shows basically, I've given you guys the background in those videos so you guys can check it out. but like how those shows are basically produced in order to find a way to show, like, it basically in order to find a way to put together a group that they could use as a product of like what they think people would like, because people tend to like a mixed group of people where different people like different people the most. They all make a song, it's all pop songs, you know, that type of thing. And so I think that that model has run itself true in many different types of groups. So she said they were poorly paid because they were owned by an institution. She then said as well that if they left or if they were hurt, they would just be replaced. And it was interesting that when she decided to leave, which I believe she left in 2005, she was there for like 3 years, which we'll get more into why she eventually decided to leave later in the video, right? But basically, even then, they basically, from what she said, I'm just inferring and deducing allegedly, that they pretty much tried to turn Kimberly Wyatt into her, as in by bleaching her hair, as in like, we don't even care about the fact that you've left, like you as a person are not even valued or valuable. We just want to like switch in the next person who can look like you for the sake of the thing that we're doing. And this is where I want to kind of talk about the abuse that these guys endured, right? Because specifically she talks about how they were constantly discouraged, told they're not good enough, they're never enough. She was told she was fat, she was told she's just there to do what she needed to do. And it went to the extent that these girls were forced to have abortions. In fact, she said that at 19 years old she was forced to have an abortion because if she had pregnancy she was going to lose this contract. And so it wasn't just like it was suggested to her, it was told to her to terminate her pregnancy. And she talks a lot about how, like, have you noticed that none of the Pussycat Dolls have kids? And that's because these are the things these guys are pushed to do. And the reason why I want to speak about this is for a number of reasons. Number one, I want to bring attention because these guys have been through such crazy things they should never have had to go through, like, ever, right? But second of all, it's because this is the stuff that people actually deal with in the entertainment industry, because like she said, there's a very small group of people who run the entertainment industry, but we're going to come back to that. One thing, we're going to talk about that just yet. She even says that she thinks her story and what she's been through and what they've all been through is hard to believe. And one of the things I want to highlight about that is that I thank God, like I do thank God for this, but it's also one of the things that's like the hardest things about me, for me being alive, is that a lot of the things I've been through are like significantly difficult for people to believe to be true. Like people just don't want to believe. Like when somebody says, oh, like, look, I broke my leg or my face is like this because I have an abusive father, like everybody believes that type of stuff, right? There's certain things we go through where the abuse is not so evident that people don't believe it, or because of people's perceived understanding of you, like, oh, but you're in the entertainment industry, oh, but you're rich, oh, but you must be rich, you must be this, right? So I really thank God in that sense that the things I've been through have shown me that I can actually sympathize and empathize with people in these scenarios, because I know what it's like to have gone through stuff that like people don't think, won't even acknowledge, you know. And so she talks a lot about that's hard to believe. In fact, she goes on to talk about, so this is really interesting. She goes on to talk about the way that she even left the Pussycat Dolls was basically because of a situation she was in where she'd been told to have an abortion. She went to have this abortion between rehearsals, right? Which is insane. As she was having this abortion, she was hemorrhaging. And so she even actually went as far as to say that she doesn't believe that the way women talk about abortions is true. She says that the way she felt is she felt like something had been taken from her, and it was a horrible experience, right? Now, what is important to mention here is that she still had to perform that day, right? She still had to perform. And what ended up happening is as she's hemorrhaging, as she's going on to stage for this huge opportunity, she's hemorrhaging because the baby's being lost and she's dealing with it. She had this spiritual experience where she saw these two girls come up to her and looked at her, and they were like, oh my gosh, she's one of the Pussycat Dolls, like looking up to her. And it was like an aha moment for her, like, I can't be this type of person, like I know the life I live, I know what I go through, I can't like perpetrate this type of like feeling or this type of image to younger women, you know what I'm saying, type of thing. And so that, she said, was when it first hit her that she can't be doing this, not to mention the fact that she's a believer in God, and in her spending time with the Lord, like God had the Holy Spirit had said to her that if you don't walk away from this, you're going to die. And that's why she said she even thanks God that she's alive today, which I also can so sympathize with, because I've been there with the temptation of the entertainment industry. And I believe a lot of people in the entertainment industry, that this is the truth. Yeah, guys, I'll tell you this. When it comes to selling your soul and this, that, and the other, like people tend to act like selling your soul to the devil is something that like once you do it, there's no way out of it. There is a way out of it, but are you prepared to pay the cost? So let's look at what she did specifically, right? She actually said she believes you really have to have a chink in your armor in the sinister realm to tolerate what you go through in certain sectors. She's very careful to not say it's for everything and for everybody, but to say that you, like, the things that go on, you have to be a certain kind of person. And this is one of the things I want to address with you guys, is that a lot of these artists will act like, oh, they just sold their soul to the devil and they're just doomed now, as if the devil was more powerful than God. That's not the case. It's that, are they willing to give up what it's going to take to give up in order to break away from that? And that's exactly what she shows, because she said, first of all, it took her a year to leave. So it took her a year to leave because she said, you know, I'm going to fulfill my contract. She was in a contract with Universal Music, one of the biggest labels, right? And she knew that it was wise. And she actually said, she goes to the extent of saying she had prophetic instruction, which is something I'm very familiar with, when God is giving you specific instructions about what to do, right? To be strategic, because if she just tries to just walk away, these companies can obliterate her, because again, there's a tiny group of people that control the music world. That's exactly what she said. So she stuck through her contract to the end, right, for the sake of that. And then after that, because of how it was all done, basically she was in a situation where, and this is why I say to you guys that people who say they sold their soul to the devil and they can't get out of it, a lot of them, they just don't want to. They don't care enough to get out of it, because basically what happened for her was, Pussycat Dolls had released all these albums and all this stuff. Well, they'd released the first album, and because she was on the first album, basically the labels, Universal and whatnot, made it so that she can't just release another album until there's another new album. So basically, for her to walk away and make new music, Pussycat Dolls would have to do another album that didn't include her. But as long as her voice was included, she can't make new music. Right? So she actually ended up having to wait for 3 years. Right? And this is something else she points out, which I think is so important, because I've been here as well. I've been in this exact situation. When you're ascending, she even says, I was ascending, I was working with the best people, the best writers. I'm going to breakfast with the top entertainment industry executives, like those gatekeepers, all those types of people. I said this to you guys before about how I dealt with, like, being tested by the kingdom of darkness, as far as, like, am I going to give myself fully into the kingdom of darkness? Am I going to give myself fully into the entertainment industry? Or am I going to choose God? Am I going to say, God, I know this is wrong. There's so many things these people want me and or others to do that's wrong. What am I going to choose? Right? And that's why I really admire her, because she was really there, like, being one of the Pussycat Dolls, making that decision. And so she had to wait for 3 years. And in the meantime, she was singing for, like, Katy Perry, who was Catherine at the time, who was actually singing Christian music. She sang for, you know, Mick Jagger, etc., etc. So she really took the time, and this is what a lot of artists aren't prepared to do. Like, this is one of the things I want you guys to understand as well, is that I have a whole playlist about selling your soul to the devil, and you guys can watch it, because I don't believe the devil is so powerful that you can just sell your soul to him and then you're done. What I do believe is that once you've sold your soul to him, or once you've been enough involved with him, the things that you benefit off of having with him will stop you from walking away, and you'll rather try to believe in the delusion that you can't get out of it than understand that you can walk away. Because, like, what she did as well, Kaya specifically, she did was she walked away at the peak of her opportunity. At the time where she could have really capitalized, she didn't. She chose to walk away. Does that make sense? And that's why when I see people say, oh, like, the kingdom of darkness, the kingdom of darkness doesn't overcome nobody. And she's a believer in Jesus, which actually, let's talk about that, because she said it, but in one time, that she says in an interview on TV that she prays to Jesus, and she was called immediately and told she can't walk back on it on live TV, as in, like, basically, you know, they weren't happy. They found it offensive. And she actually went as far as to say in this interview that she believes that the people she was dealing with, some of them were Satanists. And, like, this is again where I want to say to, like, people who watch my videos, like, when you hear me say certain things and it sounds wild and it sounds extreme, so many of the times I say stuff, like, the industry people are saying the same thing, so why don't people believe what I'm saying? Like, I'm literally trying to tell you exactly what's happening. She said herself, oh yeah, of course they're Satanists. These people are pure Satanists, right? And she said this, and this is what really I want to finish on. She says, as Christians, we don't speak enough about this when we have already picked a side. We don't speak enough about this as Christians, right? And she's saying that they have already picked a side and are very bold about the side they are picking. And this is what I see in the spiritual realm and in the natural realm. I see it that we, because we're people, we don't believe in things of the spirit. People don't even believe in God. People don't even believe in the Bible, etc. Right? So what ends up happening is we just believe in whatever we believe in as a result of whatever we believe in, which could be anything and everything, which anything and everything usually has everything to do with Satan, because there's always one version of thing that is the truth, which is what is to do with God, right? What ends up happening is that we just believe in all of that stuff. And in reality, right, we have to really deep what she's saying, because she's saying that the people in the kingdom of darkness, they doing what they're doing, and they're doing it boldly, which means that the rest of us who are out here acting crazy, the rest of us who are out here second guessing stuff, how many times is it going to take for a person in the entertainment industry to tell us the truth of what they're going through? How many times do you have to hear how evil it is? How many times do you have to be told they're Satanists before you understand that this is a spiritual battle? And that's my thing, because I try to tell you guys, and I try to say in my videos and everything, that this is a spiritual battle, this is this, this is that, because I know that's the most important thing for you guys, because that's what's going to set you free in Jesus, of course, which they've got a video about Jesus coming out today in like literally 37 minutes right now from now. So you guys will hear about that, and you guys can look back at that, right, if you need to. But my point being here is that why do we second guess it? And for her, she literally says that if not for God, God pulled her out of this. God was the one who healed her. If not for God, she would be dead. Like, the enemy comes to kill, steal, and destroy. That's what the Bible says. Jesus came to give us life and life abundantly. And also, let's talk about the temptation. The enemy always comes to us with money, power, or fame, in either in a combination or one of them, because he knows that will trip us up as humans, because we'd rather choose instant gratification, instant fame, instant money, instant power, versus built up character and then entrustingment with blessing, which is what God actually will do, because God will say, you know what, I want to bless you, but you're not just ready just yet. I'm going to do this. I'm going to train you up, and then at this point I'm going to bless you, because that's when you're ready. You know what I'm saying? To do that. Whereas the kingdom of darkness will be like, oh yeah, if I know that I can make you rich and you're going to cause destruction, I'm going to make you as rich as possible, or as powerful, or as famous, or whatever. And that's what we see a lot of the time, and that's what people don't tend to understand. So I don't know, guys, I'm just saying this because I've stopped making a lot of videos about the entertainment industry for a lot of reasons. I'm making this video about Kaya because she's really speaking about the Lord and how God saved her, and how she really saw what it was, and she's been very gracious to try and say, you know, it's not everybody, it's not everything, and how she doesn't want to speak on behalf of the abuse of the other women. But people don't understand these things, and even in myself as a true, like, genuine Pussycat Doll fan, because like I said, I love the Pussycat Dolls. I think they're incredible, right? I'm upset to know that this is what these ladies were going through. So anyways, you guys let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Don't forget to hit that subscribe if you're feeling the vibe and you want to join the tribe, and like the video, because if life's a game, then let's play to win. God bless every single one of you guys watching this, and I'll see you in my next one. Goodbye.